Hello everyone. It's great to see you again in today's video.
The feelings between James and LyTuDiep began to develop naturally, even though neither of them openly acknowledged it. The conversations, the moments when James listened to and shared with LyTuDiep, created a bond between them. LyTuDiep, a girl who had endured much pain in her past, gradually felt warmth and safety when she was with James. She no longer felt like an outsider in a completely unfamiliar world. Every time James showed concern for her, she felt like she had found the protection she had lost for so long. Even though she still had some reservations about her past, LyTuDiep realized that James' affection for her was sincere. In the quiet evenings, when they talked about dreams and aspirations, she felt that their love was blossoming, even though no words of confession had been spoken. However, not long after, challenges began to arise. James' family, especially his father, could not accept his relationship with LyTuDiep. James' father was a patriarchal figure who valued reputation and family status. He believed that a woman like LyTuDiep, who came from a poor background and lacked a solid family foundation, could never be suitable for his son. Every time James brought LyTuDiep home, the atmosphere became tense. James' father did not hide his displeasure, and his opposition was clear in every glance. James tried to explain and defend LyTuDiep, but his father's view remained unchanged. He constantly criticized her, and sometimes even openly scorned her, saying that James' love for someone without a family heritage was a grave mistake. In his eyes, James was diminishing his own worth and the family's reputation. He demanded that James end the relationship if he did not want the family to lose the reputation that had been built over generations. The conversations between James and his father were always intense battles. His father could not accept that his successful and influential son would want to marry a woman from a poor background. Every time his father spoke against it, James felt immense pressure weighing on him. Although he loved LyTuDiep deeply, he felt caught between his love and his duty to his family. James' father not only criticized LyTuDiep but also presented sharp arguments to persuade his son to abandon the relationship. He often said to James, "You need a woman with a solid background, someone who can help you maintain and expand the family's influence. LyTuDiep cannot provide you with what you need." Each of these words felt like a dagger piercing James' heart, making him feel more and more lost in his important decisions. Although James could feel the love and sincerity from LyTuDiep, the family's opposition made him more confused and conflicted. He didn't know what to do when standing between his love for her and his responsibility to his family. The criticisms from his family only made the relationship between James and LyTuDiep more strained. James couldn't deny that he loved her, but he also couldn't abandon his family. The more James' family opposed, the harder the relationship between him and LyTuDiep became. Even though James had done his best to defend her, the pressure from his family made everything feel hopeless. LyTuDiep couldn't help but feel the contempt from James' family, and the sense of being an outsider became increasingly obvious. This opposition came not only from his father but also from his mother, who always tried to advise him to give up the relationship. Each confrontation between James and his family made him doubt whether his love was strong enough to overcome everything. However, part of him remained firm in believing that his love for LyTuDiep was genuine and irreplaceable. But he knew that if his family continued to oppose, he would have to face a big decision, choosing between love and family, a challenge he never imagined he would face. In this situation, James gradually realized that his relationship with LyTuDiep was not simple. It wasn't just a beautiful love story, it was a battle between personal feelings and societal, family expectations. The feeling of loneliness and helplessness began to rise in his heart as he couldn't figure out how to reconcile the two worlds that he loved. James' family, especially his father, could not accept the relationship between him and LyTuDiep. James' father, a patriarchal figure who valued family reputation above all else, firmly believed that his son deserved a wife who was not only beautiful but also from a wealthy family, well-educated, and of reputable status. In his eyes, LyTuDiep, coming from a poor background with no solid family foundation, could never be considered a suitable match for James. Every time James decided to bring LyTuDiep home, the atmosphere in the family immediately became tense. His father always found ways to express his disapproval. He didn't just use words but also conveyed his displeasure through cold stares, and sometimes even openly criticized her. "You cannot continue this relationship. LyTuDiep is not worthy of our family. You've built a position, a reputation that she cannot accompany you with," he would often say. Each time James heard these words, he felt his heart being torn apart. Despite his deep and sincere love for LyTuDiep, he had to face the harsh reality that his family could not accept her. James' father didn't just oppose the relationship, he demanded that James ended if he didn't want to damage the family's honor. The constant criticism from his father, combined with the pressure to maintain the family's reputation, made James feel torn between two opposing forces. He loved LyTuDiep, but this love forced him to face a painful decision between personal emotions and familial duty. Each conversation with his father made him feel more confused and distressed. He didn't want to disappoint his father, but he couldn't give up the woman he loved. Although James couldn't fully express his feelings, deep down, he felt caught between love and responsibility. The strong opposition from his family, especially from his father, not only made James question his love but also forced him to struggle with societal expectations, the hopes his family had placed on him. This sense of helplessness grew within him as he couldn't find a solution to reconcile love and family. James found himself in a very difficult position, torn between his love for LyTuDiep and his obligations to his family. His feelings for her were genuine, deep, and sincere. The moments he spent with her brought him peace, love, and a deeper understanding of life's values. But every time he faced opposition from his family, he felt as though he were being pulled in two different directions. His love for her was not just a personal choice, but one that came with the immense expectations his family placed on him. James' family had always been a symbol of power and status in society, and his father, in particular, held significant influence. His father's demands were not just personal, they were tied to the well-being of the entire family. He wanted James to marry a woman who was not only beautiful but also from a strong family background, well-educated, and capable of helping the family maintain its social status. These expectations had been ingrained in James' mind for years, and although he loved LyTuDiep, he couldn't deny that his family played a significant role in his life. Every time his family opposed his relationship with LyTuDiep, James found himself struggling between two difficult choices. On one hand, he didn't want to hurt the person he loved, but on the other hand, he couldn't easily disregard his responsibility to his family. Feeling torn between personal feelings and family duty weighed heavily on him. Each criticism from his family felt like a dagger to his heart, leaving him increasingly conflicted and unsure of what to do next. He loved her, but he couldn't turn his back on his family. James realized more and more that his love for LyTuDiep was not a simple love story. Their relationship would face many significant challenges from both the family and society. He knew that if he wanted to continue this relationship, he would have to fight not only for love but also for his personal values. However, every time he confronted his family, he felt torn between two worlds, unsure of which choice was the right one. He feared that if he sided with LyTuDiep, he would lose the support of his family. Conversely, if he gave her up, he wouldn't be able to live authentically and would always feel that a vital part of his life was missing. On long nights, when he was alone, James often wondered if he had the strength to face both his family and society, or if his love for LyTuDiep was strong enough to overcome all the challenges. The feeling of exhaustion and tension weighed heavily on his mind. But despite the confusion and worry, a part of him remained firm in his belief that this love was worth fighting for because he understood that, no matter how much his family demanded or how society judged, true love should never be constrained by those things. James realized that this relationship was not just an emotional challenge, but a long journey to find balance between what he wanted and what he was supposed to do. And no matter how difficult the road ahead might be, he knew that if he didn't face these challenges, he would never find true happiness. Although James always defends and cares for her, LyTuDiep cannot shake the feelings of doubt and insecurity that constantly linger within her. Despite understanding that James loves her deeply, the stark differences in their backgrounds and origins make her feel unworthy of his affection. LyTuDiep has endured so much pain and hardship throughout her life. Even though James rescued her from the Pow family, she cannot escape the feeling that she is just a small, insignificant girl, with no remarkable qualities in the eyes of society. Her past has left scars that she cannot easily erase, and despite the care James shows her, the feeling of being an outsider in his world is ever present. When she faces James' family, the sense of alienation grows stronger. His family, with their immense power and wealth, is a world completely foreign to her, a place where she feels like she will never truly fit in. Every time she meets them, no matter how hard she tries to create a positive impression, LyTuDiep still senses their disapproval. She can feel the judgment and disdain in their eyes, especially from his father. They look at her as someone unworthy, someone who doesn't belong in their world, and someone who cannot bring any tangible benefit to their family. The criticisms, the cold stares, and the dismissive gestures make her feel smaller and more insignificant with each encounter, amplifying her doubts about herself. The constant worry of whether she can ever live up to the expectations of James' family weighs heavily on her mind. She doesn't want to become a burden to him. She fears that their love, no matter how strong, won't be enough to overcome the obstacles set by his family. In her heart, she fears that, no matter how deep their feelings for each other are, it won't matter if she's from a poor background, if she lacks the social status and wealth they expect. Her past, in her mind, will always be a barrier, and she worries that James might one day have to choose between her and his family's wishes. This constant internal conflict causes LyTuDiep to pull back emotionally. Despite James' constant support, she often questions whether their love is truly strong enough to break through all the societal expectations and family pressures. She knows that James' love for her is genuine, but deep down, she can't help but feel that she is not worthy of him, that she is the one holding him back from his rightful place in society. This sense of inadequacy makes her feel as if she's always standing on the outside, never fully able to integrate into his world, no matter how much she loves him. In those quiet, lonely moments, LyTuDiep often wonders if she will ever truly be able to live up to the expectations surrounding her. The more she tries to convince herself that she deserves James' love, the more the fear of being an outsider consumes her. She dreads the day when the weight of society's judgment and her own insecurities might cause the love they share to break under the strain of all these barriers.
Bài thơ đồng chí: quê hương anh nước mặn đồng chua, làng tôi nghèo đất cải nên sỏi đá. Anh với tôi đôi người xa lạ, tự phương trời chẳng hẹn quen nhau. Súng bên súng đầu sát bên đầu, đêm rét chung chăn thành đôi chi kỷ. Đồng chí, ruộng nương anh gửi bạn thân cải, gian nhà không mặc kệ gió lung lay. Giếng nước gốc đa nhớ người ra nính, anh với tôi biết từng cơn ớn lạnh. Sốt run người vầng trán ướt mồ hôi, áo anh rách vai, quần tôi có vài mảnh vá. Miệng cười buốt giá, chân không dày, thương nhau tay nắm lấy bàn tay. Đêm nay rừng hoang sương muối, đứng cạnh bên nhau chờ giặc tới, đầu súng trong treo. Bài thơ đồng chí được sáng tác vào đầu năm 1948, sau khi tác giả đã cùng đồng đội tham gia vào chiến đấu trong chiến dịch Việt Bắc Thu Đông năm 1947, đánh bại cuộc tổng tiến công quy mô lớn của giặc Pháp lên chiến khu Việt Bắc. Bài thơ là một trong những tác phẩm tiêu biểu nhất về người lính cách mạng và văn học kháng chiến chống Pháp từ năm 1946 đến năm 1954,